Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. Now, apologies for the wait. We are all in college, so we've been hitting them books. But after some shocking news from our hometown team, we had to get a video out for you guys. Now, following the firing of former Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins this past Friday, Jenkins coached Memphis for 6 seasons with multiple playoff berths and a record of 250 wins and 214 losses throughout that time. Yet, the Grizzlies decided to pull the plug on Jenkins in a very odd fashion, as the Grizzlies were the 5th seed with a 44-29 record, with the playoffs being just around the corner. Now, the Grizzlies were dropping multiple games with the absence of their franchise face and Ja Morant, but any ball fan can still say the timing was far from right. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we're on the road to 10K subs. Turn on those notifications to stay tuned for more content, and let us know your thoughts on this move by the Grizzlies. Now, fellas, as you know, reports showed that Jenkins' firing was due to the frustration that Ja had with the offense, often having some days where he looked like he was ready to go and others where he didn't want to be there because he hates the offense. Now, we have seen something similar, as 2 seasons ago, the Milwaukee Bucks let go of Adrian Griffin despite their 3rd seed in the East, as he didn't have the approval of the franchise face and Giannis and a few others. So, after this recent news, what are y'all's thoughts on this move by the Grizzlies, and what does this mean for them as they head into the playoffs?
Yeah, bro, I was very, very shocked when I saw that this move happened, and I'm still kind of shocked, but like I was telling these guys, it's very, very typical of the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't really see how you can be a fan of this team if you're not from this area, because there's not really a whole lot to root for and cheer for. You will get signs, you will get glimpses, and maybe the reason, fellas, that I'm coming with this type of angst and frustration with this team is because even our university team, like our basketball team, our football team, had just been disappointing, and that's what I saw with this move by the Grizzlies. As I was telling Jay and my boys, is that the city and this team had just been disappointing. And I think that what is happening, I saw that the GM came out and he said that the reason for this move was solely due to him, because his ass is feeling a lot of that pressure because they have to do something right now. And if they don't, because the way that things are looking now, they will not make it out of the first round. You're currently 5th in the Western Conference. That's not a good spot to be in. This team needs home court advantage, at least in one round, in order to give them an edge up. They're not one of these teams like the Lakers or like Denver or Oklahoma City that can go into a series not having home court advantage and win. We don't feel confident in that team. This team has been inconsistent throughout the year. Now, the thing that I want to put out there is the fact that with this whole sense of urgency thing, yesterday, in my opinion, was a must-win for them against the Los Angeles Lakers, and they did what I thought they would do: get the lead, give the city some type of hope, and lose that. This team is just disappointing, bro. This team is disappointing. The structure of the team, they move like a scared organization. 70 games into the season and you're firing your head coach? Why? You're not winning a championship. So when I hear like the sense of urgency thing, it would have been different if you decided to fire this guy at the All-Star game break. You know what I mean? But when you start spiraling like this towards the end of the season, you got to go in with what you got. You can't make a decision of firing your head coach. Like, it just makes no sense. All because Ja Morant, he's in his feelings because the offense hasn't been cultivated to his liking. I'm sorry, dog. You got to play better. Like, I understand that. Like, I understand that the offense has not been geared solely to Ja Morant, but all reports that I've been reading, because I've been seeing some different things, but the reports that I've been reading is that the team, the front office, wanted the team to play like this, kind of having like this equal opportunity, no plays, less pick and roll. That's what they wanted to run. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not, at one point in time prior to the All-Star break, these guys were the 2 seed. So it was clearly working, even though Ja Morant is pretty much down in every statistical category except for assists. Like, he's averaging 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 7.5 assists. He's only shooting 28% from 3. So, like, we understand that. But what that shows to me is that what has been working when this team is bought in has worked, and Ja Morant has had a down year. Now, we haven't talked about him because he's been out of the headlines, but he hasn't played that great. and you can talk about the system, but a lot of that has to do with you. And like we said, I don't know what this has to do with Taylor Jenkins. We've seen that he's a good coach. We've seen that he's the most winningest coach for the Memphis Grizzlies that they've ever had. So the fact that he's getting fired because this team without their star player because Ja Morant has not been available, so they dropped 5 of their 7 games without him due to him not being there. So a lot of the reason why this team can't really get a flow and get a rhythm is because my star players in and out of the lineup. Yeah, sometimes we're able to kind of get past that, but that has to go back to the sheer will of the talent and the coaching. We've been able to get over a lot because this guy hasn't been here, whether it's been due to his inability to keep that tool out of his hands or him not being available from a health perspective, not Taylor Jenkins. So, in my opinion, this was a scared move because I've been telling the fellas that if this team doesn't do something in the postseason this year, big changes are going to happen. Whether a coach is getting fired, whether the star player, we're going to start hearing trade talks, or whether, shocker, this team gets sold. This team gets sold because it's really egregious and disheartening and disrespectful to the fans, to the citizens of Memphis to keep on dealing with this nonsense every single season. Expectations are high, and then these guys just can't live up to it. They can't live up to it, whether it's the University of Memphis or whether it's Memphis basketball. The city already don't have a lot to look forward to. Crime rates continue to go up and skyrocket, and we go to the Grizzlies to have some type of resolution and have some type of positivity, and they continue to let us down. So I'm going to circle back on this because I'm really just getting frustrated with what I'm seeing from the city athletically because it just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. You have a sense of urgency, but what do you expect to happen when you have a new coach who, if the problem is the offense and how the offense is running or a sense of urgency or whatever, you think that you're going to be able to solve that in 10 games in the playoffs? Okay. All right. Stop trying to just do things to save your job, sir. We're not letting you off of the hook, GM. Because this decision, since you want to take sole ownership, basically we got another Nico Harrison in the building. Whatever happens with this season, we're putting on you. When honestly, he really could have escaped criticism if this team were to just fall out. Then we could have put more pressure on coaching, or we could have put more pressure on Ja and the players. Now, the GM, he has to hold all the accountability for how the season ends, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is more of a GM situation. When I first heard the news, I wasn't really surprised about it. The fact is, and this is what I believe. I don't know if y'all believe this on the panel. Taylor Jenkins to me, and for as good as they were in the beginning of the season, they were the second seed. They had no like it was no championship threat. Like nobody believed in the heart of hearts that the Memphis Grizzlies gonna go to one championship. And I don't think Taylor Jenkins is that good of a coach for that to happen anyway. So I understand the firing. I heard that Taylor Jenkins, he wasn't even doing a lot of the coaching, really, honestly. The most of the offensive like strategies was coming from like the assistant coaches. I think he's going to be a better coach for them. Now, here's why I have a problem. I have a problem with the timing of this. You're going to do this a couple games before the playoffs, and your team is already teetering. They already had problems like during the season facing off against really great teams above 500. And I think since like February, like 2nd or something, since they played the Milwaukee Bucks in February, they haven't beaten a team over 500. They've been reeling. They are currently, I think they lost like the last 6 of 8, something like that. Like they have been on a major losing streak and a major downpour. And it definitely starts with that. I think Taylor Jenkins is right to assume he definitely lost the locker room. And when your star player kind of loses appeal in you, and Ja Morant, he's pretty much Memphis' franchise guy. You're probably going to be outed like as a coach. And I think we already had a discussion about this earlier in the season when we was talking about the Sacramento Kings when they got rid of Mike Brown, and it was more so a situation with like De'Aaron Fox and all the star players, because they were really at fault for like a lot of this stuff. And the main thing that GMs, general managers, and front offices do is they immediately go to the coach to fire. So this isn't really a surprise to me. I don't think he was a great coach to begin with. Now, he definitely was solid enough, but solid enough for a team like Memphis, who has a lot of potential in these guys, is not good enough. This team has to be contending, like pretty much every year. Like I bet not see Memphis below 4th seed every year. They should be top 4 seed every year. And for the fact that they're the 5th seed now, 1.5 games back from the 6th and 7th seed, and 2 games back from the 8th seed. So if they continue to lose and pile on the losses, they're gonna be in the play-in. Is really bad for the entire like city, honestly. And Malachi and Bart already alluded to this. Like, really don't have much in sports anyway. Like Memphis and like basketball, college basketball, they already lost a 5-12 matchup in the first round in the March Madness tournament. So there really isn't much to like look out for. Otherwise than this team who has a lot of potential. Now I do want to say this though, because I think in hindsight, many people don't think about this. If they had to redo it again, and I kind of want to ask you guys this because I think I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies have lost a lot of like respect, like as far as the NBA. When they had their bouts against Golden State 2 years ago, when they was in the second round, like I feel like they had a lot more respect when they played against LA. They had like a lot of respect. So I kind of want to talk to y'all guys about this. Do y'all think, and this may sound crazy, do y'all think Dylan Brooks leaving kind of set a bad precedence for the team? Because I think Dylan Brooks, he had some type of edge to him. Now, we all know Dylan Brooks is a goofy. Like, he's a goofy. He's not that good, like, as the amount he be talking to. But do y'all think that they kind of lost something like a bit of an edge or a bit of an enforcer on the team that they really could use? Because when I look at this team, I think they just kind of look soft to me. And they got chemistry issues. We've seen this. Like, we saw Aldama and Bane, they were basically arguing on the bench. Bane pushed them, talking about play some defense. So we seen they had turmoil like inside. Do y'all think that situation kind of hurt them more than it helped them? Because, hindsight is 2020. So, him leaving, everybody pretty much agreed that like it was great because he kind of put them in a hole when they played against the Lakers, like mentally wise. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to ask y'all guys that because like that's thought that's been coming around my head. Like his impact on that team wasn't necessarily on the stat sheet. It was more so, as it enforced how as teams feared Memphis because Memphis did have a reputation, for like the 2022-2023 seasons, where they were in the playoffs that they just do not have now. And I don't think as a team constructed now they can be able to like win a first round matchup. Like I think they're easily first round exits. So I just want to open the panel for y'all.
I think that's a great point. I think that Dylan Brooks was definitely the heart and soul of that basketball team. And I think just some of his histrionics, really going back and forth with LeBron James is the reason why he's not there. Because everything that he had done, whether people liked it, didn't like it, was positive for the team. And as you said, this team is lacking leadership. I think also not having a guy like Steven Adams. And this is what I want to say. It goes back to that star player. Ja Morant has not stepped up from a leadership perspective, and I continue to harbor on it. And my thing is, even if you're not going to step up from a leadership perspective, his game has not stepped up. His game has not stepped up. So another reason why this team has lost respect is because their star player hasn't taken another step. All of these other things that we're talking about, if like Jay is going to probably talk about coaching hires that they can have. Dude, they don't have the guy. Because at the end of the day, you have to have the guy to get over the hump. Because some of these series, yes, they have talent, but they also have flaws like every other team. So what does that mean? The superstar has to step up. They don't have it. And Ja his leadership has not stepped up. So these guys have kind of just been what they've been. They missed an opportunity last year with him not being there to kind of see what they could be. But I think that this team, the peak of this team is already past. They're done. They're done. They're not going to be viewed as a serious threat, as Buffett said. They're not. And Dylan Brooks is not walking through that door. Steven Adams is not walking through that door. And you're not going to get the development from your star players. So I don't think that any coach that comes through there is going to get this team over the hump. And I don't think that this is a sexy pick. I'm a sexy coaching pick, in my opinion. If I'm a coach and I'm looking for a job, I don't think that the Grizzlies are where I want to go. I'm factoring in location. I'm factoring in my star because he might be on the trading block. I'm factoring in all of those different features. So I think that's a great point. I think that Dylan Brooks probably helps this team have can maintain some type of, respect, sustainability, but he ain't walking through that door, so it ain't really a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, and I thought that was a good point before we pass it off to Jay, that you did bring up Steven Adams, because honestly, I forgot to mention him. Steven Adams is definitely a core part and that instilling that leadership. Like when you saw the relationship he had with John Morant, anybody, if you pay close attention to the relationships on the court, like stuff that you don't really see, when you're like just watching the game on broadcast. If somebody ever did anything to Ja or something, like Steven Adams would be there, and Steven Adams would always be talking to the guys on the bench. So that was definitely a part they missed. And I know they got Marcus Smart, but he really didn't help with that with the situation over there. I know they kind of thought he was going to help there, but he really didn't help with that spot. So I thought that was very interesting how they had to get rid of him. I mean, but Steven Adams he was practically hurt. I think like 2 years ago for like the most part. So like he's been dealing with a lot of injuries lately. So I understand it from a certain point.
Oh, last thing before you go, Jay, and this kind of just goes to the fact that this is a very young team, and they showed to it. Their emotional intelligence is very low because pretty much all of your good to great players are very, very young. Like this may be one of the youngest rosters in the league, and so without veteran presence, veteran leadership, then yeah, because honestly, that was Marcus Smart's only job. We're not relying on you, sir, because of your game. We're relying on you for can you bring this locker room together. You feel what I'm saying? Because his team is lacking that, and he didn't do that. So it made perfect sense for him to leave. Because like we're seeing, things between players as well as seeing that the morale of the team is down. Their coaches lost the locker room. When you have veteran leadership, this is really what happened. What happens is when guys start losing games, then of course the morale goes down. But if you have a serious vet, they can be like, look, guys, we got to get our shit together. Let's stop blaming coaching. Let's stop pointing the fingers. We got to play better. And they don't have an accountability partner in that locker room to do that. And my thing is, they better find somebody like that because the coach is only so much that a coach can do. Because if there's no veteran presence, a coach can be like, okay, guys, let's get together. They're not listening to him, man. They're not. Unless you're like a Ime Udoka or somebody like that. But they don't have that, and they're not going to get that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up off of what Buff said with the whole Dylan Brooks situation. I do think that was a big, miss, but I kind of compare that to, Giddey and OKC. Like at that time, you look at Dylan Brooks when we competed against LA. He didn't look very good. He did the whole poke the bear thing, and he was taking all these threes and stuff, and he wasn't, looking as good. And you look at OKC in the playoffs when they had Giddey, they got rid of Giddey because he wasn't shooting the ball very well, and they wanted somebody else, so they moved on. They got Caruso. So I do think we kind of miss Dylan Brooks. He's kind of like our, I guess you could say, variant of Tony Allen at the time for the whole grit and grind of Memphis. Even though he's nowhere near Tony Allen, but that's kind of like the next thing. But
I think Tony Allen isn't really that great. Like didn't he
He's
get
not.
first? Like I know.
Kobe said he was the best defender.
I mean, I know Memphis
said
has
best
to do that
defender.
because they don't have that many great players, but like, is he really that great? But I do want to say this though, because Jalen, I can see where you agree with your points. My thing is, like, even when you looked at Dylan Brooks, like when they would do like, Memphis Grizzlies, like back in the day, I mean, by like 2 or 3 years, they used to do the dances a lot, like in the locker room getting pumped. Dylan Brooks will be starting the dances. Dylan Brooks will be starting the dance. He'll be doing the whole thing in the locker room, and they will follow suit. They would do it. Even Kevin Durant, was kind of like doing it a little bit. So they will follow suit. He had that mentality. I don't think necessarily Josh Giddey kind of had that. So I wouldn't kind of compare it like that unless you're not really comparing like off the court stuff. You're just comparing like play style. Is that what you mean? You're just comparing play style?
Yeah, I wasn't really comparing off the court. I was mainly comparing like the play style because I don't think off the court is what the Grizzlies got rid of him for. It was definitely on the court stuff, I would assume.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm pretty sure they didn't have a problem with him on the defense end. It was probably the offensive end because I ain't gonna lie. His last season with the Grizzlies, his shot, it was not looking good, man. But yeah, the Grizzlies, these last couple of weeks, well, mainly, I mean, they've been looking bad. They've been dropping games that they shouldn't have been losing, and now look what has got them. It's got us at the 5th seed. But this move, I mean, it's really unprecedented. Like you don't see it. Like even when the Bucks got rid of Adrian Griffin, that was a surprise to people. So the fact that they're doing this with 10 games left in the season is kind of like it's not really anything you see in sports. And I from what I've seen, our interim head coach, he comes from Serbian coaching, which is pretty nice, and he values like the big man in the offense. So I think that'll be pretty good for Jaren Jackson and Edie. It'll kind of bump up their volume, but the fact that they're doing this with 10 games left before the playoffs, it's not a good look. Like, I would have been fine with this if you wait till the summertime, because I honestly didn't think. Oh, what's up?
So wait, are you referring to like more utilization of pick and rolls and this type of thing? Because like that's kind of what I'm confused about. Is that's what Taylor Jenkins was doing prior to this year, but the front office didn't want him to do that. So now that if you want to go back to doing that, which they started going back to doing that these last 10 games or so, my thing is you keep them for that. So it's not making any sense. Like what do they really want this new coach to do for them that Taylor Jenkins wasn't doing? Because as you guys were saying, Taylor Jenkins wasn't really coaching his way for a majority of the season. They were going to what they were seeing off of the bench. But my thing was that was helping them win. But when they started sliding, it was due to the fact that they had this guy, John Morant, out of the lineup. So they had to switch it up. So like my thing is, what do y'all really want? I'm really not understanding what do you guys want. That's why I'm saying the move doesn't make any sense.
Want to watch some games?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't think Taylor Jenkins was going to last much longer for the Grizzlies because, I mean, at best we've gotten out of it is a second round, appearance. So I didn't.
But my thing is it because of coaching? Like my thing is coaching is not the problem, guys. The problem is
I think they just wanted something new. I think they just want something.
Yeah, I think it's all. I think it's coaching. I think coaching has something to play with. I think the star player, of course, has something to play with. John Morant is definitely has to be held accountable. Like as much as we joke about Zion Williamson, all these other guys, LaMelo Ball, like not being able to play games. John Morant is kind of getting into that category. Like he has to play games. He has to be available for the team. And to me, if I'm looking at it like this, John Morant, I'm honestly not really confident why he's kind of still playing because we know he's not 100%. He said himself he's like 70, 75% healthy. So if like, with the shoulder injury. So if I'm hearing this right here, why are you really playing then? Because what that seems like to me is that you're going to keep on like straining your arm and you're going to get in worse condition when the season's over and you're playing in the postseason. So your performance is going to dip. And we already know you're basically our only key star that we're playing. Everybody else is like Jaren Jackson Jr., like he's a great defender. He's borderline all-star, like borderline all-star. And Desmond Bane, I mean, people nowadays they're calling Austin Reeves better than bro. So like, let's be honest, like you're our star player and you're not 100% healthy. Never. Like you haven't been 100% healthy since what, 2 or 3 years ago. So that has a big concern. So I think Malachi's it's all of it because yeah, Taylor Jenkins to me, like even if they were to reach their potential, I don't think he's championship coach. So that does kind of play into account for it, but I think it's just both factors, and I think they just went. I think the GM just went more so to the players route, which every like general manager does nowadays, and which is kind of a problem with the current NBA climate is that the players have so much power. Like coaches, they ain't got shit now. So I think it's more of a critique on both factors, more so than just one. But I do understand where you're coming from because John Morant, he has to be held accountable, and he's not even playing to the level that we know John Morant can't play to. Like his play has kind of diminished, and maybe this is because of the style of the offense, like taking the ball off his hands. I don't know. So, because with taking the ball out your hands, your efficiency at least is supposed to grow. He's shooting worse. So like he's shooting more, like he's having more slump season now. So I think that's definitely something to consider.
It's the accountability, man, because I'm seeing like when we talk about guys like Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane, Jalen, I'm looking at your facial expressions and you're like, Desmond Bane. But Desmond Bane is, first of all, we got to look at expectations of personnel. Desmond Bane coming into the league, he's exceeded expectations. He's still giving me 19 a night, and he's giving me on efficiency. Like he's shooting 39, close to 40% from three. Jaren Jackson, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He has been your best player this season. He's been the best player on your team this season. He has been. And you shake your head because you know that you can't refute those statements. He has been your best player.
Yep.
Is he so?
But I mean, before Ja just came back, it was like an 8-game, 9-game tenure where he was averaging like a 30-point double, and he was actually producing. So I know he had, yes, his numbers has been down, but he was actually getting into a groove before he just got out before that. So, but honestly though, I think the Grizzlies should just sit Ja down until like the playoffs. Like if his shoulder, because I mean that's what he hurt last season, his shoulder. So if this is something that's still nagging him, I would have just sat him out. I figured they were gonna play him, for the Lakers, because I mean everybody just plays against the Lakers. Like this ain't nothing new. But and plus he probably wanted to play after Jenkins got fired, and he was the one whose name was circling around it. So I honestly think they should just sit him out. I mean the Grizzlies, like the games they should win. They should win. Now, are they gonna win it? I don't know, because there's been a lot of games where we've been saying that and they lose. Like, nigga, we shouldn't be losing. We shouldn't be losing to the Utah Jazz. Like, we shouldn't be letting the Utah Jazz light us up from 3. So I can understand why Ja's trying to come back, because we're losing games we shouldn't. Like the only problem that when I say Desmond Bane, he might got to go. Like, yes, he's showing up, giving us buckets, giving us efficiency, but sometimes in the clutch, he doesn't look good. Like
Pause right there.
Like those times he's sold.
Bro, like, Ja Morant is supposed to come alive in the clutch.
Turnovers. Like that stretch where we were losing off of like one shot, like 1 point differential. Desmond Bane was the one turning the ball over every time. It was a natural reoccurrence. I'm seeing Desmond Bane turn the ball over or do something dumb. Like, I'm sorry, I love Desmond Bane, I love his play, but sometimes he do make some costly mistakes.
I need for my best player to start my franchise to come alive in the clutch, not my third option. Like it's the same. It's the same sense of, okay, if Desmond Bane comes alive in the clutch, that's a bonus. But that's not why he's paid. He's paid to give me the production that he gives me. 19 a night, efficiency, defend. I'm paying Ja Morant big dollars. I'm gonna pay Jaren Jackson Jr. big dollars to come alive for me in the clutch. Those are my 2 best players. So if you want to move on from Desmond Bane, go ahead and do that. But understand, you're not going to get value back, for one, because people factor in his status, where he is right now. You're not going to get value back. 20 points per game is not walking through that door. We think that that's a commonality. It's not. So if you're going to come up off of him, know that. But like, my thing is, we're all avoiding the problem. We got to talk about what the key problem is, because if this guy, Ja Morant, if he was on the ascend, we wouldn't be having these conversations. That's just fact.
Okay, so when it comes playoff time, do we blame Ja in the playoffs? Because he shows up in the playoffs. It's other guys that we need to step up. Like, we always see something that's natural. Jaren Jackson, he fouls out most of the time. Sometimes we got guys that drop off in the playoffs. Like, we see Ja, he can elevate his game in the playoffs. That's not something like regular season. With the Grizzlies, like Caleb said, we should be a top 4 seed most of the time, almost all the time. So like, regular season isn't something I really care about anymore as a Grizzlies fan. It's like playoffs. What we gonna do in the playoffs? And it's what are other guys gonna do in the playoffs for us? And honestly, like Caleb said, or like you did say, Bardo, we are gonna need some veteran presence. Like, we've had some of those opportunities, but some of them niggas decide to just sit out and wait to be bought out, which is cool. I mean, I don't really care. Y'all can go off somewhere. But Marcus Smart, we kind of missed on that one. He turned like really injury prone, and now he's shipped off to Washington. But we do need some type of veteran leadership, some type of vet who's been around a championship team. So I think that's something that we need. That'll definitely help the locker room, especially with firing Taylor Jenkins. Now we'll definitely need the players to kind of, I guess, get a reality check and lock in. Like, they're gonna have to realize, like, yeah, we got a new coach, so we're gonna have to figure out what's going on, because it can't all be on coaching. It's gonna have to do something with the players. Like, as far as like coaching decisions, that's why I think Nick Nurse will be good. Now, do I think Nick Nurse will come to Memphis? I don't really know, but
can I ask you one thing, please? Can I ask you one thing? So
what's that?
I want to focus on the postseason, because you just said Josh shows up in the postseason. So at this point, showing up in the postseason, just putting up stats, I don't care about your stats, bro. Because I remember I'm going back to key pivotal moments, series that these guys should have won. Series against the Lakers, series against the Golden State Warriors. Those are series they're supposed to win, where the talent, because like you're talking about Jaren Jackson picking up 5 fouls. He's picking up 5 fouls because he's the only big on the floor. So what is this? So that goes back to the GM. That has nothing to do with what the team has, because they got to work with what they got. When I see Jaren Jackson giving me 5 fouls, I'm seeing a guy that's the only one defending. Is Ja Morant defending? So I'm saying they're not getting any help on the interior. Like, I saw that series against the Lakers where Ja Morant, yeah, he had a good game statistically wise, where he put up a bunch of stats, but that was a game that they lost. And he had other games in that series where he's not giving me enough. So so looking at your overall stats and saying, oh, this guy averaged 25 in a round, that's cool. But we got to look at context is important. Key pivotal moment. Did you show up for me, guy? He hasn't done that. He's just been able to put up good numbers. So we can let him off the hook. Nah.
I'm not trying to let him off the hook, but it's like, we know what Ja gives us. He's on the offensive end and all that. And
he
sometimes he'll have like
he gives me stats, but like, bro,
do we rely on Steph Curry for his defense? Do we rely on Luka for his defense? Do we rely on like some of these big guards for their defense? We don't.
No, we don't. But guess what? We rely on them. We rely on them to give us we rely on them to take us over the top in key pivotal moments. As a star player, as a superstar player, forget star player. We're talking about superstars, because Ja Morant is not that. He's not a superstar. As a superstar, we expect you to raise up in those key pivotal moments. I don't care about stats. I don't. Raising up in key pivotal moments is in that game against Indiana, where LeBron James is struggling for the majority of the game, but he gives me great IQ plays, and he gives me that tip to win the game. Not saying you got to win a game winner, but key pivotal moments, bro. Because if you have a good team, they should be able to kind of help you through the first 3 quarters. 4-quarter money on the line needs you to step up for me. I don't care if you got 36 points and going into the fourth to give me 2. No, I need you to step up, dog. He hasn't done that. He hasn't taken that next step. And so my thing is, it's either we put more accountability on him or the structure of the team, better pieces. And I'm for that. You know, this team needs to kind of be structured better, but you're not getting a lot of free agents, so majority of the work is going through the draft. So y'all don't have a lot of options.
Okay, so I have one more question. What do you expect out of Ja Morant in the playoffs this season?
What am I expecting, or what should he give me? Because they're 2 different questions.
Give me what you expect, and then what he should give you.
What I'm expecting is for him to give me some empty calorie stats, so him to give me about 25. Low efficiency, and for them to be a first round exit because he's not stepping up. That's what I expect. I expect to see what I've been seeing throughout the regular season, for them to lose against teams that are above 500. That's what I'm seeing. Now, what he should do is, with this talent surrounding him, he should be giving me 30 efficiently, and he should be showing up in the 4th quarter. Basically, the team should be able to keep the games close, and in the 4th quarter, he should be able to take me over the top. That's your expectation as a superstar, and he's not going to give me that. I don't trust him. I don't trust him to give me that, Buffy. I really don't, man. I just don't think that he's that guy. And you know, I know that y'all love him because he is the star right now. But as I've been saying, he's not even giving me in the regular season what he customary to giving me. So why should I expect him to give me more in the postseason? It don't really work like that. He's not Jimmy Butler.
Okay. I'm hold to it. We gonna see. Hey, we shall see. Hey, before I end off his video, like Unc said, big baller, shot caller, I baller. Grizzlies at 5.